Hello everyone, here we are on set of Coffee with Kim, preparing for an incredible season 7. Join us. You're not going to believe who's stopping by for coffee.
And I've got the joy deep down in my heart. I'm waking up with your love from the start. I'm chasing the rainbow through the rain. I know it's gonna be a beautiful day.
Today's husband and wife guests are a power couple by anyone's definition. Let's begin with the wife. BJ Arnett is no stranger to the entertainment industry as an educator, producer, director, and actor. She currently hosts and co-produces the award-winning talk show BJA Today and WATC TV's 57 This Day with BJ Arnett. BJ is also the interim chair of the Arts and Fashion Department at the prestigious Clark Atlanta University. BJ and her husband, Cameron, are co-founders of the Atlanta-based Cameron and Arnett production studios and the non-profit Saving Destinies. In addition to producing films, she also played the social worker Carrie Murray in the film Tulsa and Judge Geneva Reed in Trafficked and Joanne in the Kendrick Brothers' Courageous Legacy. She and Cameron are parents to 5 children and 5 grandchildren. Now, the second member of our dynamic duo is Haitian-born actor, author, speaker, director, and producer Cameron Arnett. He carved out a career in arts and entertainment in the late 1980s and has gained momentum and influence in the industry ever since. In 2020, the Canadian International Faith and Family Film Festival awarded Cameron Best Supporting Actor for his role in Discarded Things. He was named 2020 Actor of the Year by the International Christian Film and Music Festival and was nominated for Movie Guide's 2020 Grace Prize for his role in the movie Overcomer. Other film successes include his roles in I Still Believe, Maddie, The Discovery, The Challenger Disaster Champion, and the Dove award-winning Stand Your Ground. Most recent TV appearances include Vindication, the faith-based crime drama series. He also plays a lead role in the upcoming feature Running the Bases and appeared in the BET Plus original Redeemed. But my favorite all time is watching this amazing actor take the role of a blind man so that we all might see the power of God in someone's life. You all know what I'm talking about, Cameron's role as Thomas Hill in the highly acclaimed Kendrick movie, The Overcomer. Cameron is the CEO of Cameron Arnett Production Studios and co-founder with his wife of Saving Destinies, a nonprofit that is raising and uniting people who provide opportunities and resources to the born, unborn, disabled, aged, or defenseless, and known for his Christ Over Career declaration. Hello everyone and welcome to Coffee, conversations of friends of faith to encourage and equip. I'm Kim Crabill, your host, and I have a little secret. None of the accomplishments I just named, and I left out a lot, are why we invited the Arnetts to be with us today. After a short break, we're going to hear the best part, Cameron and BJ's love story. We'll be right back.
When you sit in a group of men that have a high level of trust and compassion for one another, amazing things happen in those conversations. I think it's incredibly valuable because strain, burden, stress, hardship are inevitable. You're not going to live a life without that. It happens. Once it happens, the only thing we have after that is how we deal with it. And we have 2 options. 1, bottle it up and never talk about it, or pretend it doesn't exist. Or option 2 is try to talk about it in a constructive way that helps you grow. And the importance of this for men in a non-judgmental way, to be able to sit and talk in that way about real issues and real problems, is life-altering.
What you realize quickly is that all the group of men that you're sitting there with, who at the beginning you don't know, are all facing very similar challenges in their faith and in their lives.
For many people, and many of us, There were things we were carrying for a long time that we didn't even know we were carrying because we had them for so long. And when you finally let them go, it changes the way you see the world. It changes the way that you operate.
Is once you find that burden and start to address that burden, that's when the healing begins. And for men, addressing that burden privately, let alone publicly, is massively difficult.
It's a nonprofit ministry, so like any ministry, it relies on donations. Donations go to books, donations go to hosting events that bring people in. Every event that we have changes someone's life. There are a few things in your life or in the world that you can do that have that impact. And we're here to tell you that it has that impact. So if you are interested in having your life change for the better, if you feel a voice in your head calling you and saying you want something more or you feel like you could do more, I'd encourage you to go to kimcrabill.org and check it out.
This is an opportunity for you to not only change your path and your faith journey, but also an opportunity for you to grow your family's journey as well.
So join us, Confront and Conquer, at kimcrabill.org or on Facebook. We'd love to see you there and connect with you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee. Well, it's going to be an incredible show today because look who we have. Yes, two of my favorites, Cameron and BJ Arnett. They know how much I love them, and you love them as well. So I promised that we were going to go deep into your stories today. But first, I just want to say, hey, thanks for stopping by.
We are so glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm delighted. You are so busy. How did you do?
You know, one of the things that we talked about is taking over that word. We don't like to say that we're busy, we are productive. Yeah. You know, God is just doing things and we're just following him into wherever he's going, and it's just been phenomenal.
It has been phenomenal. I tell people all the time that I see where God is moving my husband. I put my roller skates on, hold on tight, and just let it roll with it.
For the ride.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's been more than we could ever ask or think. It really has.
And it's so different, you know, with all the things that you all do, the many hats.
Yeah.
So I think you said many hats, one mind. Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that?
Well, you know, basically, when we do a lot of things. Yes. And when people think about Cameron and BJ Production Studios, of course, they deal with just the production side of filmmaking and everything else. But we are entrepreneurs, we're in business, there's so many different hats that we wear. But I think the important thing that people need to know is that only one mind governs it, and that's the mind of Christ. And so when we tap into him, then there's nothing that we can't do, but unless we're with him, then nothing works. But we can do so many things, and we're so grateful to be, you know, involved in so many things because God is in the takeover business. It all belongs to him.
It all belongs to him. We get the opportunity to do so much together, and that's so unusual for most couples. But we get to do it together according to what God has called us to do. So we spent, and my husband tells us better than I do, but we spent our first years of marriage always, literally together.
Yeah.
And absolutely everything. And now, so for us to be apart, even when he's on set, we are calling each other constantly. Like he'll call me at a break. We talk in the morning, we talk in the afternoon, we talk in the evening. So we're never really apart, but we're always on the mission that God gave. So.
Yeah, and that comes, you know, but seriously, guys, you all just, every time you look at each other, it's like goodbyes and gushing. I mean, you're always together, you're always dressed alike, you're always hanging off each other. These are all true things. No, it's true. I'm telling the truth. And that's what I want to talk about today, because I just feel like marriages, you know, are under such attack in the world. We're so confused about it. I hear young people saying, well, let's get married. We'll try. If it doesn't work out, you know, so there's this mindset that we've lost the godly perspective of marriage. Mm-hmm. And I see you all at conferences, at retreats. You know, I've had you in my home. We've gone out to eat. And it's always the same. And I think that you are such an example to our world. And I wanted to talk about that because everybody can see what all you do and all those accomplishments, and the list goes on and on and on. But to me personally, the greatest accomplishment is what I see in you two together. So can we just talk about that a little bit? Let's inspire our world with a true love story.
Oh.
Wow,
That's
we enjoy each other. You know, as an individual, I know that I love deeply. Whether it's my wife, whether it's the family of God, you know, I love deeply and I love to love. And by the grace of God, He gave me somebody who's just like me in that sense. You know, we were being who God had us separately.
Yeah.
And then we came together and just became more and more explosive. And so, you know, we spend the time together now and we laugh a lot, giggle a lot, play a lot. You know, and people have.
I chase him a lot.
And I get caught a lot. No.
He runs real slow.
I run real slow motion.
Real slow.
So you know, that's just our lives. You know, when we're together at home, we actually dance. There doesn't have to be any music. We make our own music. We are our own music. You know. And so that is what God allowed us to have. And, you know, we've gone through the stuff of the world and what, you know, prior lives and everything else. But now who we are together because of who Christ is in our lives has just been phenomenal. And we get to enjoy. And I said to this woman, you know, I said it to her before, it's like, if I would die right now, I would know what it was like to be loved by a human on the earth. Because who she is to me and what she's done for me, I can't explain it. I can't really make people understand because I do have a past. I do have where I was from. And, you know, to have this woman love me the way that she has is what really has unlocked my ability to be the man of God that I am. And so all of that is part of who we are to each other.
You know, it's funny as I'm listening to him say that because part of our journey when we met many years ago was that literally God sent him to be my Superman, to save me out of a horrible situation. And he and my best girlfriend just literally, you know, so you know how people say that they talk me off the roof or they talk me off the ledge? That's what he did for me. He didn't have an agenda other than to help this woman not see herself in such a negative light. That was his agenda. That was my friend's agenda. Together, they were able to help me see myself through God's sight. To now be on this other side as his wife, like, blows me away. Like, sometimes we'll be sitting on the couch, just watching television, right? And, you know, I'll go,
we're married.
really? And I'm like this. It's because I'm so excited of the fact that, you know, every little girl thinks of their Prince Charming. And that's cute. But when you realize what God brought you from and you're actually with him, and God's made this destiny and purpose inside of him and you, and they came together and it's like, okay, God, stop playing. You just did something. So we really, we enjoy each other. And I really do chase him around the house because I'm the funny one in the family.
Oh, wow. We're going to have to do another show. I'm going to have to let the truth out, okay? So, all right.
So I love making him laugh. That is like the joy of my day. Like, you know, he's trying to work and I'm giggling.
When you first met,
Wow.
Oh, God.
Good question.
That's
Well, you know,
interesting.
when
That
we
wasn't-
first met, you have to understand, I was married before, okay? And so when we first met, that wasn't really not part of the plan, you know? And so, as a matter of fact, I came into an audition.
Yep.
My agent sent me in, and I came into an audition. She was looking for, you know, new models, and I'm trying on clothes or whatever else. And I don't know what was said, but she said something really off the wall to me. She was like, you know, I am woman, hear me roar kind of a thing. I mean, she's, you know, Miss Powerful Black Woman, whatever. And she said something to me that was off. And I just stopped, and I looked her in the face. I said, you will never talk to me like this again. And this was in an audition.
Yeah.
So it was not really, that's not who we were, you know, at the time. That was like years ago.
Years ago.
But God used, I ended up her son's godfather. And that's what God used to get us back together.
Yeah.
After my ex-wife decided to leave and all hell broke loose, all of that, what happened there, I'm sitting in the back room of a woman who was on welfare. That's how far I had fallen. And God says, you know, you haven't seen your godson in 6 years. Why don't you try to find him? And that's what I tried to do. And I ended up with the benefit.
So all that to say you chased her, right?
Well, you know, I mean, by the grace of God, I loved him enough to say yes to what he said.
Yeah.
Best thing I ever did.
That's scary to say. Worked out well for you.
My
didn't it?
gosh, thank you, Jesus.
It worked out well for me too. You know, it's funny because we tell people now that we realized, I think it was really an afterthought, we realized that we were in an arranged marriage because neither one of us were looking for a relationship. I was wearing a wedding ring, and if somebody would say something to me, I would say, I am married to a man who has everything. You know, so they would just kind of like throw people totally off. Right. But I was married to Christ. Right. And that was it for me. And I said to the Lord, I said, until you bring me one just like you said, this is it. And then he brought him. And literally he brought him. So I feel very, very blessed because I know what the ugly looks like. But to be living what God actually had for me in the first place, it's quite a blessing.
Well, was it
My Superman.
Was it instant, or did y'all like after you? One of the questions someone said was, "What was it in each other that made you go back for the second date?"
Well, there was no dating involved. You know, like she said, it was an arranged marriage. I came from California to see my godson. Yeah. And what happened was that when I found the numbers and tried to get them for like a month, that kind of stuff, and finally she answered the phone, and we spoke for 5 hours. Yeah. The very first time we spoke after 6 years. Mm-hmm. We spoke for 5 hours on the phone, and around the 4th hour, God said, "That's your wife." And by the 5th hour, we were getting married.
We were getting married.
I hadn't seen this person in 6 years.
Yeah. Not at all. He hadn't seen me at all. He had no idea, you know, imagery-wise, what he was going to see. He didn't know where I had been in these 6 years. He was my son's godfather.
So what happened?
Well,
it's a cliffhanger, right?
The rest is so what I said to my then assistant, I said, the Lord said, this is my wife. Yeah. I'm going to leave California and I'm going to go to Atlanta, and when I sit across from her at the table, I'll be able to know, did I hear God? And so I get here from California, and she does one of my biggest pet peeves. She was late. I do not do late. And so I get to the airport and she's late, and you know, in actuality what happened was my flight got there early. But to me, okay, look, I was looking for a reason. So for me, she was late. And so, you know, I'm like, Lord, I'm having a conversation with God. Like, you gotta be kidding me. Mm-hmm. You cannot possibly want me to marry this woman. You know I don't do late.
She's 5 minutes late.
There are things that I just don't do, right? And so she shows up, and so I am fuming. You know, she picks me up in this little turquoise mommy van. And then, so we go, so she's driving me, and then we get to somewhere just to talk. And I hear God say again, this is your wife. And I tell people, we got married out of obedience to God.
That's it.
Not because we were in love with each other. And so our love for God is what put us together. We obeyed God and it put us together. And then we realized that was the best thing that we had ever done. Yeah. And so the love grew and became something that was what came out of God. Because one of the first things that God taught us is not to agree with each other. Yeah. We didn't pursue each other, we pursued him, and we found each other in him. And that's what keeps us the way that it is now, because now we obey him regardless of our feelings, regardless of whatever somebody says. You know? So we always are unified, or at least seeking unified, making sure that we stay together because we're really obeying God. And it's caused the love to be more than we'd ever experienced before. So,
you know, I think what was amazing to me was the 5-hour conversation was, this giggling man right now is not the man who was on the phone. Okay? So when he's speaking to me, my husband is very directed by how God speaks to him and through him. And so he's not mamby-pamby, kind of soft and fuzzy conversation. And at that point in our discussion, and it was his discussion, all at once he says, "So, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm only going to promise you one thing. I'm going to love God, and I love you, but I'm going to love God first, and I love your son." I said, I'll be with you. I'm marrying you.
And that's the soft version.
Yeah, I don't even know how to do it, but it was, and I'm going to say this, and I think women need to understand this. I understood that he wasn't speaking from a little mushy heart. He was speaking, declaring, I'm going to love God, I'm going to love you, and I'm going to love your son. That's something you want to hear.
Well, it is. Was that, I was just what, a 40-hour show, because this is going to be a big question. But do you think, Cameron, that's because of what you had been through? With choosing Christ over career and falling from all that. Do you think that just made you say, I know what I want and I'm not going to settle? Do you think that came?
It did come from that, but it came from the fact that I was already that, and I had to fight to be that. Mm-hmm. So going into this, there was no way that I was going to go into it without it being known first.
Yeah.
See, I had grown to become someone who was in love with God. Before, when I was married before, we both got married not knowing God. We were both, two crazy people, in sin and whatever else that you might want to call it. And so I don't blame her for leaving because she left. I don't blame her for leaving because I became a different man. I became someone who was in love with God, who wanted to do the holy thing, the righteous thing, and that's not what she signed up for. And so I don't have any kind of ill feelings, but it left me kind of callous. It left me kind of bitter. And so, but because within that relationship, having become a man of God, I had to fight to stay that. I had to really push against everything that wanted me to go back to what I was. And so when we got together on the phone, it was almost like I had to make sure that you understood, here's who I am, if this is what you're signing up for, so that when it happens, we don't have a rift, because from day one, that's what you knew.
And here's the thing. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, educator, artist parents, and my husband is from Port-au-Prince, Haiti. So when he started telling me, about this, that was somewhat of a proposal. And after that, he said, this is what we're going to do. I remember, and I tell him this all the time, I remember thinking I was going to be a missionary in Haiti. I was not going to have a perm. Black girls like to have their perm. And so I was not going to have a perm. I was going to have a basket on my head, and I was going to be carrying, fruit. Water, fruit, whatever. And I thought to myself, what did I just do? He doesn't know that I know nothing about third world, nothing. And ministry-wise, I don't own a big hat. I have no long skirts. I like wearing jeans and T-shirts and a baseball cap. And before marrying my husband, they were backwards. So after we got married, this man said to me, you don't have to be anybody's wife but mine. You talk about freeing. All those things that I had put in my own head were gone. Then I had to learn, what was it to be his wife? So
And do you think that that's what every couple needs to do? I mean, how did you do that? How did you learn to be his wife?
I think he said it earlier. It really was going to the Word and understanding that we were going to do it the way this says. Not the fantasy of, Breakfast and Tiffany and Doris Day and, Diane Carroll and all that. Not of the fantasies. It was the reality that we were going to do it this way. And that freed me in a great deal. And then I had to train myself based upon the teachings that we were learning through this Word of God as to how this was going to work.
And it's something that we both wanted.
Well, yes.
You know, we wanted it God's way.
Yeah.
You know, again, I have to reemphasize that it wasn't that we were looking at what we wanted with each other.
No.
We wanted to do and live life God's way. And so whatever we found in the Word, whatever we found in God, whatever the Holy Spirit said, that's what we were going to do. And that's where the first 7 years of our lives, we decided we're going to have one car, we're going to be in one place, we're going to do one thing, and it kept us together no matter what. And it's almost like a child, you know, they tell you that, you know, you have to, whatever you do in the first 5 to 7 years, it remains. So we did that 5 to 7 years like this. And so now no matter where we are, we're always like this from the inside out. And so I can think of maybe on one hand how many times we've ever had a crazy discussion about anything, because we're so agreed upon the way of God, and so whatever comes in between goes out really, really quick.
And I'm going to say my husband is very good about when we first got married, he would say, Satan check, and that meant we were getting off track. And I was like, oh, what did I say? So I wasn't blaming, he wasn't blaming. It was a time for us to check ourselves. And it was so cool because when we did that, we went back to that thought of, okay, how does God want us to be in this marriage? How did he build us to be?
Okay. Oh my gosh, I have so many things. Satan check. That's where I want to pick up next time, because that's huge. Because what that is doing is that you're not blaming one another. You're saying the enemy's getting in.
Yeah.
And that's where we have, if you can believe this, concluded our program. And I know that because I know my friends who listen, they're going, and so I'm going to ask you if you'll stay around and do a second show with us.
Absolutely.
Would you be willing to do that?
Yes.
Well, friends, you heard it right there. So we have just off the cuff decided to do something right now. So we're going to conclude this session of the coffee show, and we're going to be back, and we're going to start and pick up with the conversation just as we left it. So I hope that you'll stay tuned and join us next time for another coffee, because I can promise you it is going to be another conversation that encourages and equips. So we'll see you next time right here on Coffee. Bye, everybody.
I'm waking up with your light from the start. I'm chasing the rainbow through the rain. I know it's gonna be a beautiful day. Yeah, yeah.
I'm so delighted you joined us for coffee today. I'd like you to know that most of the stories that you hear on our program have been discovered through the transformational message of my first book, Burdens to Blessings. It's a journey of hope that guides men and women to understand that their lives matter and their stories can bring healing to others. If you'd like to discover the power of your story, please visit our website, kimcrabill.org. Thank you again for joining us. We at Coffee look forward to hearing from you.